I can't say it enough. Warped Tour has been home for us for so long, and it's so amazing to be here to be part of the last one.
The year is 2018. It's the final run of Warped Tour, and Simple Plan wraps up their set with Perfect, as they always do. Things are pretty emotional, and it's not difficult to understand why that is. The band's Warped Tour had been around for almost 25 years at that point, a mainstay of the pop-punk and emo spheres, not to mention its status as the largest traveling music festival and longest-running festival in the United States. Lots of artists came up and found fame through Warped. Bands you know and love like Fall Out Boy, Paramore, and New Found Glory, but also artists from other genres that you wouldn't expect, like Katy Perry, Eminem, and Bebe Rexha. In its absence, Warped left a catastrophic hole. There was nothing else like it. Most other fests were 1 or 2 day excursions. Nothing else could hit those 20 to 30 cities while maintaining Warped's massive size and low barrier to entry. But what if someone tried? Spoiler warning, someone did. The following year, a new festival emerged, the spiritual successor to the band's Warped Tour, Sad Summer Festival, a touring music fest that was accessible on a similar budget to Warped. Sad Summer had a strong run of 5 years from 2019 to 2024, including 1 year delayed because that thing. The fest slowly gained credibility over the years. Bigger and bigger artists, larger and larger crowds, more and more memories, but that raises an important question. At the peak of their popularity, why did Sad Summer call it quits? That's what I want to explore today. Come with me as we talk about Sad Summer, the festival that saved pop punk. Before we can start talking about the festival itself, we need to talk about how it came to be in the first place. That's because of 3 people who all wanted to capitalize on the gaping absence left behind by Warped Tour. Those 3 people were Mike Marquis, an agent for Paradigm Talent Agency and partner at Photo Finish Records; Josh Terry, founder and CEO of Workshop Management, who manages bands like Mayday Parade, Anberlin, and Acceptance; and Tim Kirch, a manager at 8123 Management, which is the Main's record label. These are 3 guys who love music, and who Warped Tour had a profound impact on. I know I called it a capitalistic urge earlier, but the intent of Sad Summer was to carry on the legacy of Warped. Create a touring festival that hit an extensive list of cities, expose a new wave of music fans to their new favorite bands. It really is as simple as that. Pricing-wise, what I can find seems to indicate that tickets cost around $60 for Sad Summer's first year. A little steep, sure, but when you compare it to other standard festivals, yeah, this feels a lot more reined in to me, and it remains in line with what Warped had established across the past 25 years. The very first Sad Summer Fest kicked off in 2019, containing the Main and Mayday Parade at the forefront as headliners. All things considered, this makes perfect sense. 2 of the fest's founders are very directly involved with both of these bands. Of course, they're going to play a role in this festival. Right alongside those bands as other headliners, though, were State Champs and the Wonder Years. While definitely on the smaller side in comparison to Mayday Parade or the Main, these 2 bands are beloved enough by the pop-punk scene to draw a crowd, and draw a crowd they did. 2019 also had a diverse arsenal of openers, as consistent support on most dates were Stand Atlantic, Mom Jeans, Just Friends, and Lift, and then providing support on varying dates were 4 Years Strong, Set It Off, Forever the Sickest Kids, and Every Avenue. What I love most about this overall lineup is the diversity it offers, because it really made Sad Summer feel like it had something for everyone. Like your straight pop punk tunes, you've got State Champs and the Wonder Years. Looking for something a little more old school or neon, then you've got Every Avenue and Forever the Sickest Kids. What about something heavier, a little angstier? 4 Years Strong and Set It Off are there for you, assuming Set It Off played anything off of Cinematics besides Partners in Crime. While 2019 was an initial sign of success for Sad Summer, though, I think they'd really find their stride in 2021, the moment I feel like the festival really started to pick up momentum. Instead of 4 headliners sharing the spotlight, 2021 featured a sole headliner, one single name at the top of the bill, All Time Low. Now, let's talk about why that's sort of crazy timing. At the time, All Time Low was on the bigger side of sad summer artists, don't get me wrong, but the timing at which they were added to the lineup coincided perfectly with All Time Low's explosion into mainstream success with Monsters. Love or hate that song, it truly was unavoidable in the early 2020s alt-rock sphere, and took All Time Low from a sort of niche pop-punk band, albeit a recognizable one, to a mainstream household name. And of course, as a result of All Time Low's growing fan base, Sad Summer saw a commensurate amount of growth. Now, it also helps that this year of Sad Summer was absolutely stacked with support acts. Directly beneath All Time Low on the bill were The Story So Far and Movements, two bands that are revered by pop-punk fans, The Main, who had a large overlap of fans with All Time Low already, as well as Grayscale and Destroy Boys. All those factors helped push Sad Summer to an even more mainstream audience and let them come back bigger and badder for 2022. 2022 would see another co-headliner. This time, that honor was shared by Neck Deep and Water Parks, who would alternate closing out the festival every single night, at least if I remember correctly. Alongside those bands were a few names that you'll recognize from past years. State Champs and Mayday Parade were both back, but many of the bands this year were up-and-comers. Hot Mulligan made their Sad Summer debut at a point where they weren't nearly as huge as they are now. The Summer Set also tagged along this year, reuniting after a 6-year hiatus. On top of that, we also had Games We Play, Magnolia Park, Lolo, and Hot Milk on various dates, all up-and-comers who were still finding their rhythm in live music. All things considered, the lineup was pretty stacked, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get a ticket to go. Just to get COVID 2 days before and miss out on it. Thanks, Obama.
So let me be clear.
The following year is what I personally consider to be my least favorite lineup, although I mostly credit that to my lack of fondness for the headliner Taking Back Sunday. Look, I know that's a nuclear hot take. No, I don't care to hear your arguments. The Main, Stand Atlantic, Hot Mulligan, and Mom Jeans all made return appearances for this lineup, while also adding Paris, Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, Head Automatica, Alice Dunes, Motion City Soundtrack, Cliff Diver, Daisy Grenade, and Sincere Engineer. Whew, I'm out of breath. 2023 also made a bit of a divisive change if I remember correctly, transitioning from outdoor to indoor amphitheaters. I didn't go to this year's Sad Summer personally, but I remember a fair bit of complaining about the whole situation, and they went right back to outdoor venues for the following year, so, yeah, do what you will with that information. And finally, 2024 rounded us out in the best way possible. A co-headliner with The Main and Mayday Parade, back to where it all began. Looking back on it, I don't think there could have been a better pair of headlining bands for what will most likely be the final Sad Summer Festival ever. It feels like a full circle moment. The Wonder Years and We the Kings sat on the top half of the bill alongside Knuckle Puck and Real Friends. Daisy Grenade returned for all dates. The Summer Set and Like Roses found a place on the first half of the tour, with Hot Milk and Diva Bleach replacing them on the latter half. In a similar vein to the first year, 2024 really felt like there was something for everybody to enjoy. There was a great range of eras, if you want to call it that, with Mayday Parade and We the Kings covering your early 2000s, while Real Friends and Knuckle Puck hit the 2010s. On top of that, 2024 offered a wide range of subgenres. You had your standard pop punk with the Wonder Years and Like Roses, some more pop rock driven bands with The Main, The Summer Set, and Diva Bleach, and then a little bit of heavier shit with Hot Milk. All of that feels like a callback to Warped, a place where alt-rock and pop-punk was the emphasis, sure, but every genre could coexist and thrive. Remember, this is a festival where Katy Perry, Sum 41, Eminem, Bring Me the Horizon, and Young Gravy have all performed at one point or another. There's no limit to what's possible at Warped. This is also the only Sad Summerfest that I've ever attended myself. It rained all day and I nearly called it quits, but it was all worth it from the very moment The Main stepped on stage. I don't know exactly what it was, but the moment that Intro to Bad Behavior ripped through the amphitheater, I was totally re-energized, and I won't be forgetting that day anytime soon. So with all of that in consideration, why call it quits? Well, to put it bluntly, Warped Tour came back. But low-key, that kind of pisses me off. Look, I get it. Warped Tour has a reputation and its return is a big deal, but it does kind of feel like a return in name and name only. Take this all with a grain of salt since I've never been to any iteration of Warped Tour in my entire life, but can we really even call it a proper tour when we're hitting 5 cities across the span of 8 months? Warped used to hit tens of cities across the span of an entire summer, and for a third of the price at that. As far as I'm concerned, this and this are not the same, and it sort of disappoints me that Sad Summer died for it, now leaving behind a smaller but comparable void like Warped did in 2018. That being said, touring is also in a weird, expensive state at the moment. It's incredibly pricey to tour in the first place as a solo artist or band, and I can't imagine organizing an entire touring festival is much different, maybe save for the fact that you can tack on more sponsorship deals. Now, all things considered, that would be a pretty shit point to end things off on, so let me close out this video on a high note. I want to focus on the impact that Sad Summerfest had instead of just moping about what once was. Live music is slowly becoming less and less accessible, but for a few years, we had a great run of budget festivals with Sad Summer. It also filled a similar role of uplifting novice artists. Think about how big bands like Hot Mulligan are getting now. That happened through Sad Summer Festival. Not entirely, of course, but due in part. Maybe one day Sad Summer will return, and I eagerly hope for that day, but in the meantime, if you're looking for a Sad Summer-like festival, my recommendation is to check out Hot Topic's Summer School Tour, which has taken place across the last 3 or 4 summers now. It's also full of up-and-comers, bands that are slowly becoming more and more prominent in the rock scene, so you may just find your new favorite band before they explode into something way bigger than they are now. And more importantly, keep an eye on your local music scene. Music starts at a local level, whether that's practicing in your parents' garage, recording on a shitty microphone in your basement, or playing shows in whatever establishment will let you. If we let our local music scenes die, that's it, it's all over, so take a look at your local music venues, find out when local shows and fests are going on, and show the fuck up.